The Gordie Howe International Bridge isn't open yet, but U.S. border authorities say they stopped a man who apparently managed to cross over from Canada earlier this month.
Canada, of course, paid for the construction of the bridge, over $4 billion.
The U.S. should own at least half of the bridge.
I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated, and also importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect that we deserve.
Fox 2's Dave Kinchin joins us live in Windsor to break this all down.
A $6.4 billion bridge, 14 years in the making, personally approved by Donald Trump in 2019 with American funding attached to it. And in February 2026, the same administration declared it unacceptable and demanded compensation before it could open. One post, one demand. And a crossing that moves a quarter of all Canada-US merchandise trade is suddenly treated like a bargaining chip. But Carney didn't hold a press conference. He made one phone call, and that call put something on record that Washington didn't want people to see.
We discussed the bridge. I explained that Canada, of course, paid for the construction of the bridge, over $4 billion, that the ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada, and that in the construction of the bridge.
On February 9th, 2026, a post appeared claiming that Canada owned both sides of the Gordie Howe International Bridge and that the United States deserved financial compensation before the crossing could open.
The U.S. should own at least half of the bridge, have shared authority over what passes across it, and participate in the economic benefits generated by its use.
The bridge at that point was nearly complete. Opening was imminent. Carney's response was not a speech, not a headline. He got on a call, walked through the facts one by one, and let the record speak.
The ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada, and that in the construction of the bridge.
Within hours, something unusual happened. Michigan officials, industry groups, and former Governor Rick Snyder didn't line up behind Washington. They pushed back against it, hard, bipartisan, fast. To understand why Michigan turned and why that one move effectively ended the argument, you have to look at a deal signed 14 years ago, and who actually got the better end of it. In 2012, Canada and Michigan struck an agreement. Canada would finance 100% of construction costs. Michigan would receive a 50% ownership stake, zero upfront cost, zero financial risk. In 2013, the United States Department of State issued the required presidential permit, formal federal approval. On the record, in 2017, Donald Trump and Justin Trudeau stood together and described the bridge as a vital economic link between the two nations. In 2019, Trump signed legislation that included $15 million in U.S. customs funding tied directly to the project.
Bridge opening.
Yeah, we receive a lot of questions asking when the bridge is going to open to traffic. We're continuing to make progress and anticipate to open this spring.
Okay. We are in the spring, though. We thinking like days, weeks, months?
This spring.
What are we working on right now?
Yeah, so major construction is complete across all four of our components of our project. Our main focus right now is testing and commissioning. And by that, I mean testing all of our systems.
Nothing in the ownership structure changed between 2019 and 2026. Not the financing model, not the equity split, not the legal framework. The same administration that co-signed the bridge with American funding in 2019 was demanding compensation for it in 2026. That contradiction didn't require interpretation. It was documented. So if the facts were always public, why did this become a flashpoint at all? The answer has very little to do with the bridge itself. By early 2026, trade tensions between Canada and the United States had been mounting for months. Ontario had banned American alcohol from provincial stores. Dairy protection disputes remained unresolved. And most significantly, Carney had finalized a trade agreement with China that cut tariffs on Canadian canola from 85% down to 15%, unlocking an estimated $7 billion in new export potential. Washington called it hostile, strategically disruptive. In that environment, a nearly finished international bridge became something it was never designed to be. Leverage. But there was a second layer to this story. One that predates the trade fight entirely. The Ambassador Bridge has controlled heavy truck traffic across the Detroit-Windsor corridor since 1979, privately owned by the Moran family of Detroit. No commercial trucks allowed through the tunnel. Every 18-wheeler carrying auto parts, agricultural goods, and manufactured products is forced through one route, one family, generating over $60 million annually in toll revenue. The Moran family spent $30 million trying to kill the Gordie Howe Bridge through a Michigan ballot initiative. Voters rejected it 60-40. Federal lawsuits followed. All failed. The Detroit-Windsor corridor moves roughly 25% of all merchandise trade between Canada and the United States. The North American auto industry runs on components that cross this border multiple times before a single vehicle is finished. Delays are not inconvenient. They translate directly into higher costs, disrupted production lines, and reduced competitiveness for American manufacturers. And for nearly a century, that entire system has run through a single crossing. One bridge. No redundancy. One mechanical failure. One structural issue. One protest blockade, and heavy commercial traffic stops entirely. That is exactly what the Gordie Howe Bridge was built to fix. Direct highway-to-highway connections. Ontario 401 to Interstate 75. No city streets. No traffic lights. No congestion. Scaled across 8,000 trucks daily, that projects to $2.3 billion in savings over 30 years. Savings that flow heavily toward American manufacturers and agricultural exporters. And here's what made the threat impossible to sustain. The math didn't just favor Canada, it overwhelmingly favored Michigan. Rick Snyder went on record and corrected the ownership claim point by point.
The U.S. should own at least half of the bridge.
Michigan negotiated this deal specifically to secure economic benefit without financial risk. Blocking the bridge would not pressure Canada. It would directly harm American workers, American businesses, and the U.S. auto industry. The White House statement claiming Canada owned the bridge in full was contradicted simultaneously by Michigan officials, the original 2012 agreement, Snyder's account, and Trump's own 2019 legislation. The pressure point Washington selected ended up imposing the economic cost almost entirely on the American side. Carney never had to win the argument in public. Michigan made it for him. When trade tensions stack, alcohol, dairy, canola, and now a bridge, every physical asset starts to look like a pressure point. The problem with applying that logic to the Gordie Howe Bridge is structural. Michigan receives 50% of toll revenues, contributes zero to construction, gains supply chain redundancy, and reduces congestion that has cost its industries for decades. The U.S. auto sector gets lower input costs and faster delivery times.